Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Janine McGowan, and I'm here in my studio office with Dunkel, whom you can't see because he's under the desk. But if you hear some snoring, that'll be the reason why. So I hope you're having a lovely day today. It's a beautiful summer weekend here. It is warm still, but not awful, which is nice. And of course, since it's summer, we get to enjoy all the lovely fruit and veg, which is one of my very favorite things. We have lots of farmers markets now that are going, and so I'm gonna go. I think we've been to 2 farmers markets in the last week, so we're taking full advantage. Jumping right in to stitching in action, and we have Gather with Joy, stitched by Debbie. I love this. She used the called for threads, but she got drunk with power and chose a new fabric, which is great. This is 36 count Bedrock linen from Bee Stitch Me. I haven't stitched on their linen before. I have some of it in my stash. Maybe next video I'll show my fabric stash, but I haven't had an opportunity to use it yet. So I'm glad to hear from Debbie that it's a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. I love this finish. Thank you so much, Debbie, for sharing it with me. And I hope you too are inspired to be drunk with power and choose something different, either something that you have on hand or something that you think might look great, and just see how it goes. So thank you, Debbie. As always, if you've stitched a blue flower design and you want to share it, I would absolutely love to see it so that I can be excited by your work and share it with everyone else as well. On to what I'm stitching. I've stitched personal stitching, so exciting for me. I'm making some progress on the things of summer. It's gonna be hard to get a good view because of all the lights in here, but I've got a couple of the motifs done. I really want to do this bathing suit. For some reason, that just seems really fun to me. But to no one's surprise, when you actually spend time stitching, you get it done, which is awfully nice. And this one does stitch up very quickly. I'm liking my approach of just pulling the threads that I need for 1 or 2 motifs at a time. That's working well rather than having the whole set out. So, and since I generally just do 1, maybe 2 motifs in a sitting, yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to continuing with that. On to Stash Spotlight. Now, I don't know about you, but I was recently introduced to the Artsy Housewife, and she's a newish designer. I believe it was through Steph at Lindy Stitches, one of her newsletters, that I first saw the designs and fell in love. And she went to Nashville this last time. I didn't actually get to meet her in person. I believe I met her partner, but I picked up a couple of charts, and as often is the case, I got some that I liked and extra copies for you. So the 2 that I wanted to talk about today are called Vicious, which I think it speaks to the way that our cats can be absolutely ferocious hunters, especially of plants. But I love this one. I love the whiskers. I love the expression. I even love the vicious, although you could certainly change that out and put a cat's name in there. And then the second one is A Study of Nature. I love it on this fabric, but I really love the way she's incorporated, for example, flowers into different pieces of the design. And I'll give you a better close-up here so you can see. I think this is just such a beautiful design. I love her color sense, and I think it's gorgeous. And you will see these here again in just a few minutes. So that's my Stash Spotlight. On to World Around. As many of you know, I appreciate and respect spiders, but I am also afraid of them. And so I'm taking a tiny plunge here because I want to talk about crab spiders, which are easier for me to see and to be around because they're very small and they're often very colorful. So with all of that warning, here's a crab spider. This one is native to this area, but there are over 200 varieties in North America alone, and varieties around the world. I think it said over 2,000 varieties of crab spiders. Now, some of them are not the tiny, cute ones that live on flowers. I'm gonna leave you to research those if you want. But I really have always liked these, and I do generally see them in my garden on flowers. They're called crab spiders because they have a sort of a wide, flat body. Oh, we've got Rye coming in too. Hello, precious. And because they can hold their front legs out wide and sort of scuttle from side to side as a crab would do. And so that's the reason for the name. The ones that I like so much do tend to live mostly on flowers, and they're mimics, so they can change their color to match the background that they're on. I learned that they can change, often the ones that we see in this area have white as their base color, and so they can change to, say, a yellow or a different color to match the flower that they're living on, but it takes about twice as long because they have to create a pigment and then distribute it throughout their body to change that color. Whereas if they want to go back to white, it's very easy, and it just takes about half the time, a couple days. So they can excrete all of that yellow pigment and go back to their original color. The reason that they do this is because they're ambush hunters, and they sit on the flowers and they wait and they catch whatever comes by. They do produce silk, but they don't use it in hunting. They don't make webs. They don't use it to throw over their prey. They use the silk for some very specific things. The females, well, all of them, I think, when they're hunting, will have like a safety line that they'll leave attached so that if they get knocked off the flower, they can climb back up. And then the females will also do like almost a scent marker line that trails in the air with pheromones so that the males can find them. They use the silk to wrap up their eggs when they're laid, I guess. Do spiders lay eggs? And the males will use them to form the little balloons or things that they can catch to catch the wind and sail away looking for a female. And yeah, I thought that was so interesting. But I really loved that they changed the colors. I think that's probably the happiest thing about them for me. Oh, I forgot, on the silk, males, when they do locate, this silk is everywhere in the mating process. The females are leaving it in the air to show where they are. The males are using it to fly on the wind. And then when they find a willing female, they will create this sort of drape of silk called a bridal veil that doesn't hold her in place at all. It just decorates, kind of, which I thought was interesting. They're very strongly sexually dimorphic, so the females are very much larger than the males. So I'm not sure the males could hold the females in place even if they wanted to, but they don't, so that's good. I really love that they just sit on your flowers, and I can't say it enough. Now, the ones we see here primarily toggle between yellow and white, but the ones that we see in other areas, and even here not on the flowers, can imitate bird poop or leaf droppings or a lot of other things. And then in places around the world, they could very often be another beautiful color like pink, which is so fascinating. Now, they live pretty much everywhere except where it is extremely dry or extremely cold. And not only living on flowers to catch insects as they come in, but they can also live off the pollen and nectar of the flowers in between catching prey. It's a little bit tempting to be disgruntled with them because they do hunt pollinators primarily, but they also hunt the insect herbivores, the grasshoppers, the aphids, the earwigs, the things that come along and eat your plants. And there was a study that even suggested if a plant the flower is damaged and it's less likely to produce a lot of seeds, it will do better if it has a crab spider living on it, because the crab spider will essentially hunt the things that would eat that flower, and so it's more likely to survive and produce seeds than if it didn't have a crab spider on it. Now, circling back to mating, once they mate, the female will lay eggs and she will guard them ceaselessly until they hatch, which takes about 3 weeks. During that time, she will not eat or do anything except watch the eggs. And then when the eggs hatch, she perishes from exhaustion. So for all of you parents who are dealing with young kids, those years are behind me. I thought you could maybe relate a little bit to the constant keeping them alive and then maybe forgetting about keeping yourself alive as well. So that's everything that I could learn about crab spiders. If you happen to see one in your garden, maybe don't be as afraid of it as you might have been, or just appreciate the beauty and unique attributes that it has. That's what I've got. All right, questions. Last video, what do you do to beat the heat? Lots of good suggestions. We have plenty of heat, so I have time to work through all of your suggestions, quite frankly. And this video, the question I wanted to ask is, what's an animal you'd like to see in a Christmas ornament? I'm working on jingle ball designs and I have a list of ideas, but I just wanted to throw it out there and see what you think as well. So if there's an animal that you think has been terribly underrepresented or that you're very fond of and would like to see, drop me a message or send something in the comments. I would love to see that. best thing, I am going to try a new recipe this weekend. I'm going to make raspberry tiramisu, and recipe is probably a little misleading because I'm not following on per se. I'm going to look at several and then adjust my standard tiramisu recipe to reflect the use of raspberries instead of coffee. So that's my thought. We'll see. Maybe in the next video I'll see how it goes, but I'm taking advantage of all this lovely produce, and my husband really loves desserts with fruit, so give that a go. All right, giveaway. Last video was this beautiful, oops, dropped it, Morrison thread from Cottage Garden, and these lovely shell pins. The word was shell, and the winner of that one is Diane Hahn 711. So Diane, drop me a message with your mailing address and I will get that off to you. Now, I said you would see my stash spotlight a little bit later, and it's because these are the giveaways. I'm doing 2 giveaways this week, so you'll get 2 separate words depending on which one you want. First, we've got the vicious cat from the Artsy Housewife. That just makes me laugh. And this beautiful, beautiful butterfly. So use the word cat if you would like to have the kitten, and nature if you would like to have the butterfly, a study in nature. I'm feeling very basic this week, so those are the words that we're using. And I will pick winners in the next video, 1 for each, and I'm keeping my own copies, but you can have a copy to enjoy as well. No announcements this week. We have a short puppy video to follow, but I am off to pack some orders and do a little bit of baking. Well, not baking. I'm not going to turn the oven on. It's too hot. Just stovetop cooking and chilling. That's my speed right now. But thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a very lovely weekend and get to do something relaxing. And I will look forward to seeing you again in about 2 weeks.